Foreword and Preface of U.S. Marine Operations in Korea, 1950 to 1953. Volume 5, Operations in West Korea. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. U.S. Marine Operations in Korea, 1950 to 1953. Volume 5, Operations in West Korea, by Pat Mead and James Yingling. Foreword. Mention the Korean War, and almost immediately it evokes the memory of Marines at Pusan, Incheon, Chosin Reservoir, or the Punch Bowl. Americans everywhere remember the Marine Corps' combat readiness, courage, and military skills that were largely responsible for the success of these early operations in 1950 to 1951. Not as dramatic or well-known are the important accomplishments of the Marines during the latter part of the Korean War. In March 1952, the 1st Marine Division redeployed from the East Central Front to West Korea. This new sector, nearly 35 miles in length, anchored the far western end of one corps and was one of the most critical of the entire 8th Army line. Here the Marines blocked the enemy's goal of penetrating to Seoul, the South Korean capital. Northwest of the Marine main line of resistance, less than 5 miles distant, lay Panmunjom, site of the sporadic truce negotiations. Defense of their strategic area exposed the Marines to continuous and deadly communist probes and limited objective attacks. These bitter and costly contests for key outposts bore such names as Bunker Hill, The Hook, the Nevadas, Carson, Reno, Vegas, and Boulder City. For the ground Marines, supported by 1st Marine Aircraft Wing squadrons, the fighting continued until the last day of the war, 27 July 1953. The Korean War marked the first real test of free world solidarity in the face of communist force. In repulsing this attempted communist aggression, the United Nations, led by the United States, served notice that it would not hesitate to aid those nations whose freedom and independence were under attack. As events have subsequently proven, holding the line against communist encroachment is a battle whose end is not yet in sight. Enemy aggression may explode brazenly upon the world scene with an overt act of invasion, as it did in Korea in June 1950, or it may take the form of a murderous guerrilla war as it has more recently, for over a decade, in Vietnam. Whatever guise the enemy of the United States chooses, or wherever he draws his battle line, he will find the Marines with their age-old answer. Today, as in the Korean era, Marine Corps readiness and professionalism are prepared to apply the cutting edge against any threat to American security. L.F. Chapman, Jr., General, U.S. Marine Corps, Commandant of the Marine Corps. Preface. This is the concluding volume of a 5-part series dealing with operations of United States Marines in Korea between 2 August 1950 and 27 July 1953. Volume 5 provides a definitive account of operations of the 1st Marine Division and the 1st Marine Aircraft Wing during 1952 to 1953, the final phase of the Korean War. At this time, the division operated under 8th U.S. Army in Korea, USAC, control in the far western sector of One Corps, while Marine aviators and squadrons functioned as a component of the 5th Air Force, FAF. The period covered by this history begins in March 1952, when the Marine Division moved west to occupy positions defending the approaches to Seoul, the South Korean capital. As it had for most of the war, the 1st Marine Aircraft Wing, operating under FAF, flew close support missions not only for the Marines but for as many as 19 other Allied frontline divisions. Included in the narrative is a detailed account of Marine POWs, a discussion of the new defense mission of Marine units in the immediate post-war period, and an evaluation of Marine Corps contributions to the Korean War. Marines, both ground and aviation, comprised an integral part of the United Nations Command in Korea. Since this is primarily a Marine Corps history, actions of the U.S. Army, Navy, and Air Force are presented only in sufficient detail to place Marine operations in their proper perspective. Official Marine Corps combat records form the basis for the book.